And for the record on the recording, it is Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. The county court is in session. We begin with bill pay and accounts payable.
I can give you a sentence from the back of this one. Well, give it two.
I don't remember what it was now, but on the accounts payable stuff, last time you had a couple of questions on things. Do you remember?
Got them answered.
Did we get them in?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we got them answered in the end.
I don't remember exactly. I mean, I remember.
I do remember having
Some stuff.
questions, but I thought that,
Couldn't remember if we did get answered for them or not.
yeah, I think we did. I'll jog my memory here on that and see if I can recall. My question with this one, so she's,
So you know you're talking to him.
come on, I'm finished reading.
First day back. Always a monster.
The Monday on a Wednesday.
Yeah, that was nine Monday all day long. So where she's flagging that these are over budget, I guess what are our takeaways she's wanting us to see at this point? Because I don't see any corrections with any of this. I just see that they're flagged that some are over budget.
It's gonna take a deeper, have to have a copy of the budget, the current budget, where we're at, the cash report, everything. To determine whether or not these negatives, these overages,
In materials and supplies are completely over.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's, I'm always
Is this
curious
because the
when
end
we
of the year?
see things like this.
and she sends those out monthly.
Yeah, but I guess why they're
Is that something, Judge, that,
I think it's good. to
yet,
see that.
maybe at some point, the department heads, if they read and watch these things they're sent monthly carefully, and if they ever notice that they're one of the departments that might have some of these things happening, do they take
Well,
the initiative to come see you? Do you call them?
It's still materials and supplies, and so they might be over in a line, which this is all that.
And way under in another.
So,
Is that they're over in one line.
so as we look at it, what's our
doesn't
parameter?
Give us
Okay, okay.
detail other than one line is blown.
I have a question on, Dr. Leos's different, roles and payments. As a contract provider at the RHC, she's medical director, medical examiner, public health contract, RHC contract for, the oversight. And then as a direct provider, the intent has always been that at some point she's not a direct provider. How is that going? Where are we at for
I
that?
don't
Well,
think
they-
they secured anybody else yet.
No, they had another nurse practitioner, NP,
Mhm.
I think. It had made an offer to, and it came right up to the day that the individual was supposed to report for work, and they got it declined.
Okay,
So, and I don't know if they've re-bulleted them, I haven't heard.
I haven't seen anything as of late, but
do you have any idea if?
no,
the-
they've had several near misses where people seem, like it was going to move forward.
Is
and
it ever
then
housing
didn't, so-
that's their reason, or do they know?
this last one, I think, okay, so the candidate went kind of silent for a while. They couldn't get a hold of him, and she'd had, I think, a death in the family or something.
Okay.
And, which still, text message, a phone call, something,
Something.
but still went silent. And then up close to time of the start date, again, went silent. And I believe she had other family issues that she was having to drive back east for or something. And again, no excuse for not the text message or something, but in the long run, it wasn't something because of
us.
because of housing or anything. It was other personal issues.
I just like to occasionally ask that to see which things were pretty much a housing
No,
thing
I-
or not. Sometimes it's other things. Sure, like the way Dominic writes his letters and opinions, don't you?
Yeah, I think. Good luck
Wish I was a
arguing that
judge.
on the
I
other
don't
side.
know. You got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just handed it. Which, even in the bill that's being introduced at Congress, they bring up quite a bit of this with the flip mode.
Yeah.
That's where everybody's just stumped that they're trying to even pursue this at all, just due to flip mode.
It's because law has no meaning in the courts much anymore. Sad.
Year to date turnover to Burns Urban Renewal Agency, $219,176.
It's just straight up criminal that they.
I
put
wonder,
that
I wonder
in
if
place.
there's any way at some point, particularly with in the near term, in the years to come, if it isn't functional, if it isn't doing
Well,
what
if
it's
they're
supposed
just
to do.
accumulating money, but not.
If
being
there's any
able
way to
to-
undo it, even if they vote to do it, to undo it, whatever I mean, if there's some type of cooperative understanding that it's not really working.
I think there's been several inquiries into the establishment of it and whether people had any say so or not.
And they've been-
Yeah,
It was
it-
already done before we ever even got
Yeah,
a view of it.
Under the
The
public-
public ever got a view of it. It was all done in a back room.
And when, and you, county judge, I know Pete did, he would have lunch with Dan Brown and Kirby at least monthly. And if Pete knew about it, he didn't share it with us, and certainly City Burns never came over formally and informed us until it was
Until we
a
made
done
them.
deal. And then I
And that's-
said, you know, this in Harney County, we talk to each other beforehand. We don't just surprise each other, you know, especially on something of this nature. And now when in the course of just being a commissioner and people say, why can't we do this and that, anything that involves money in the future? You know, I mentioned it at the Community Wildfire Protection Plan meeting, because they were talking about, you know, City Burns Fire Marshal was saying he, you know, the county could kick in more, and, you know, and I said, you know, City Burns, you know, just so you know, when that happened, that's taking away money from us now and in increasing levels in the years to come, right when we can't afford that. So look to your, you'll have to look elsewhere, you know. And they go, what are you talking about? People don't even know. They don't even know. Who's acting as the current city manager right now?
Either one.
I did invite her to the local planning group thing on Zoom today.
So does anybody know the backstory on that?
On what? No, I don't. I never do.
Backstory on, oh, no. never.
If you ever know, let me know sometime. Like I ask, people go, we don't know. Okay, no problem.
I just learned about it from Judy niece-in-law when I was on my trip, that Judy was now the acting.
Yeah, and there were so many
I could like
major
start with
shifts and
that one.
commitments made, you know, during, city manager Dan Brown's watch, and he's gone, and people left to implement it. I don't know, it's challenging.
Yeah. I haven't heard any reasoning. You know, they never relocated here. They still had a home in Arizona. They were traveling back and forth. Her daughter just had a child, she just had a grandchild.
So they'd never cut down roots.
So it didn't surprise me, but I don't know what.
He had mentioned to me in passing, when he was fairly new, that he wanted to be here for 5 years to get hers vetting. Mhm.
Oh, well, I was talking about.
But he didn't stay 5 years because the public criticism started, and, you
You got a
know,
better paying job. with the
that
state.
too. But, you
No,
know,
he's with CIS.
CIS.
But-
that's what it was.
but
CIS
it's okay.
is it a PERS agency?
the state is the PERS agency. I mean, CIS is,
A
as you
private
know,
entity.
city
But
county
it's
insurance.
a creation of
Isn't it from-
Oregon cities
Yeah.
and.
It has a Pete role, but it, you know.
It'd
didn't-
be interesting to ask them sometime.
Yeah,
But regardless,
You know, for information.
that was his intent until public pushback started, which is part of the job when you don't brief everyone ahead of time. Oh, I know what I had asked you last time. I'd asked you about the design journeys, the webmaster expenses, because I know they're general monthly amount, and there was additional.
$1,200.
Yeah, I think that was, and I don't recall if there was an answer on that one.
No, and she went on vacation or something. Right about that same time, and then I went on vacation, so I haven't had a chance to talk to
Circle
her.
back.
And I will say, I emailed her, not realizing she was on vacation, and got, you know, the reply back that she's on vacation and Laurel would help, and Laurel did what I had mentioned like immediately, so I was like, oh, that was good. How are you?
Doing good yourself.
Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning. Oh, you guys ready for winter?
Pretty much. No change.
South got nailed.
It was at 2 inches. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, like say it wasn't a skip.
Yeah.
On the, just out and about or on the steams or?
No, down on Catlow.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of pivots got,
Hmm.
they were like, well, we were gonna go cut this morning, but apparently.
Other plans.
I think Lakeview got hit too.
Yeah.
Was that, when was that?
The other day.
Yeah, day before yesterday, maybe that evening.
We didn't get back until yesterday afternoon, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pictures were just like, oh. Morning.
Morning.
Morning. How's it going? We're just discussing the schizophrenic nature of our weather here lately. Look at all over the map.
Yeah. Well, and it's part of changing from La Nina to El Nino is part of that. And then on top of that, our fuels right now are acting really weird. All of our light fuels are looking good. All of our heavy fuels are catching quick and burning completely already. And that's
It's a unique one for sure.
And Mother Nature was having hot flashes last year and this year she's freezing.
And I got up this morning and turned the heat on.
I've ran it the
yeah.
last 3 days. I'm a wimp.
I said today, even if it's cold, it's June 21st, summer solstice, I'm gonna wear white pants today,
Well,
even if
it's
it's
first day of summer.
freezing, so I did it. I will probably regret it, but.
Oh, it's been awesome. Like when we go out, whether we're day working or brand, I just tell the kids, bring a coat and something that you can layer things strip down and you never know. Like some days it's been scorching hot, it
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah,
Another day it gets gray.
just imagine how the farmers out here have been doing, and they turn the pump on and off. With all of this and everything.
Which- Yeah, what's interesting though is, as I understand the growing cycle, like, we shouldn't have as much grass as we
I
did.
think you've signed.
Oh,
Looking
okay.
at,
Oh, maybe. No, no, you
conventional
haven't.
wisdom, and every place I'm going, everything is built, it is unbelievably good.
I think it has a lot to do with it being super hot early on, and actually having a lot of cool weather. So I've noticed that cool weather helps quite a bit with the road, so.
Yeah, within, a certain range, but we've been dipping down in that range that they climb overnight as opposed to kind of,
Stuff.
yeah. And it's from the desert to the forest. We spent a few days up in the woods there and we were playing allotments out here, like, why? It doesn't even look like you've been injured. There's so much feed, it's like you haven't even touched a fraction of it. Like, what are we looking for? And all the cows are.
it's like
thinking
when
the
you
same
want more
thing.
grazing.
If only. Yeah, 2 summers would be really good forest.
Or, oh wait, finish that part. After a while, they start looking alike. Like, let me review this in the other file.
No, well, and a lot of them do transfer back to each other.
I feel like here the ladies represented in today's culture, and I could feel that way. We joked about doing this, and we got Nick to lead on the idea that it was going to yeah, I got something to forgot, it's like donation. And we were thinking about doing it for beers and beauties and doing like a spoon video of like preparation for it. But figured that might be a premature. I think it's, who wants to tell us about it? Even if we did go down with the first, but we would understand for what we want to do is. Have Rob like in the driving wheel. Doing something. I do that point, I need something. Mentally challenging, and what do you think?
How do you say the hub? Whatever. Why are we?
Yeah, I don't believe that's our end of it.
Just.
Any agreements or conditions or?
She.
May I see it
I would like to.
real quick, just to see which amount?
Where the X is, if there are any agreements or stipulations? General fund would.
Not that I'm aware of.
It'd be interesting to know.
Maybe there might be one program.
What she is. And what you can pull it up and see if there's a history of it.
Is this?
And it's exhausting, same deal, like, you strap in for a good 8-9 hour day.
General fund.
Rule for you, you know.
I'll have to look it up under.
I mean, cause we have the line that it's coming out of. The refrigeration line, 'cause it's one of
Wait till you're
mine.
older, guys.
Clerk?
Yeah, you wouldn't think that we'd be buying it.
Just about that time.
All right, good morning, everybody. On this first day of summer, June 21st, 2023 at 10 a.m. County Court will be in session. If you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. After purging all this stuff for the last week and being on vacation, I'll see if I can put this together in an organized manner. So we've already taken care of voucher approval, and next item on the agenda is the agenda approval. I don't have any late items myself.
Neither.
I do have a question though, when we meet on the 26th, would we be able to
The what?
add anything as far as a short session? I had sent the information for the wolf compensation account to Bobby Joe, but she's been out of the office and unable to review it. And
On the
so,
28th,
was it
Wednesday, the 28th?
26th or 28th?
28th for the budget.
Yeah, would we be able to add a short agenda to that?
What is it to approve or sign an application, or what is it?
To create the wolf compensation fund that we need to receive the.
Okay, so, budget related then, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I made a call this morning to, Oregon Department of Revenue, asked them about that. Actually, that was one of the funds I asked them about. Because there's funds in that fund that are previously designated for depredation, and these funds are for mitigation. They said, yes, we'd have to be careful about mixing them together, so you're probably going to have to create a new fund. I think we can take care of that in the budget resolution itself,
Okay.
so we'll just do it at the same time. And then it's coming up later on in the agenda under old business, but the building fund. Renaming it, we can do that at the same time under that same resolution.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's what I found out this morning on those items.
Well, given that,
So then we could just do it all at the same time as the budget hearing that's already advertised.
Okay, that sounds good then.
I move to approve today's agenda.
A second.
I have a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting, June 21st, and has been seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next item is minutes approval from the June 7th, 2023 county court session.
Well, I move to table it till next time, in that I had some material input to give to Tammy, and I didn't get it to her till this over the weekend, so I'd rather, if we can, table it and everyone have time to read it carefully.
Then a motion has been made to table the minute approval from June 7th, 2023. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item is opportunity for public comment. Did anyone?
Barbara
State-
Kennedy,
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
I'm gonna get it down.
Yeah, no.
Okay, first of all, I think the county court should commend ODOT on their hearing that fall. That was, that landslide, that was something, and, you know, I think really quick response to. However, I do have an issue with ODOT, and that is I hear a rumor that once again, they want to revamp Monroe Street, and basically Highway 20, where they would make it more like out of the truck stop. You know, have it 3 lanes with a center lane in between. This would be the third administration that has dealt with this issue. And the last time we just asked them, would you please look at the S-curve? Because there's so many different approaches that come along the S-curve. And the potential for more accidents rather than less. Because of that, I think it works great where there's a straightaway. And that's usually the image they use when they're promoting that design. But in our S-curve, where we have everything kind of compressed, every time they looked at it, they backed off. And now I hear that they're bringing it up. So.
And is there a specific source you've heard this from?
Gosh, I've talked to so many people with, I don't remember which one.
Was
Really,
it,
and
I was
just
wondering if it was in
about-
another meeting you'd been to or something of that nature, or just
No. this was
conversation
a-
in the community.
This was a private party that sent us. This. was coming up. So anyway, I was expecting maybe ODOT would be here today. And, or either that, or maybe it was brought up in CF, because they usually bring it to the town court before.
No, they
We had
usually
this
bring it to the
discussion.
city of Burns. They
Yeah, if
never
it's-
had the courtesy.
I was
to
gonna
bring it.
recommend you speak to the city of Burns, both at one of their city council meetings and then perhaps their interim manager or the mayor or somebody, because the city council did originally last time, I recall, they were okay with ODOT's proposal, and then public input asked them to push back, and they did, and it was tabled at least.
Well, I think my concern is that, when approaches get screwed up, and there's two of them right there at the beginning of the S curve, they don't come back and fix it. And, one, person that I talked to with ODOT several years ago said, you know, that where the lights are at Big Aura, actually, they had a four-way stop before that, and that worked better than what they feel like the lights are working, but they don't come back and change it. So, you know, I don't know. I'm not against the light. I don't have an opinion on that one way or the other. But I just know that those, like closing the street in front of Figaro's so people drive through the Figaro's parking lot, I don't think was a good idea. But they don't come back and change things when, you know, or fix things when.
Yeah.
Once they made that.
The city of Burns has way more
Jurisdiction
direct
over that.
jurisdiction and impact on that matter. So we hear you.
It has come before the county court.
To that point, both the landslide on Highway 20 East. Crews, yes, we're on it right away, and I talked with Sean Mahoney. Yeah, Sean Mahoney this morning. Sure got that right. Sean Maloney. This morning, who's the manager for Region 5, which all this area falls under, Eastern Oregon for the most part. I drove through it yesterday, and I told him, good job. I passed along those kudos to him.
Yeah.
That the crews had done a good job, because I came through it yesterday, and other than off to the sides of the road where there's a lot of debris still, but the highway's clear. The highway's clear, and they've done a really good job. To the other topic, or the other subject, of center turn lane. Email this morning from Mr. Maloney inviting me to, and I was gonna bring this up a little bit later, but touch it later too. It's 2023 ACT and Modal Advisory Committee Chairs Meeting in Salem on the 29th. And Sean had called and invited me to come. Judge Joyce from out here county is not gonna be able to attend, and they wanted some representation from Eastern Oregon on that. So as of this morning, we'll be going,
What's the major?
and the director will be there for that meeting, and we'll mention these things.
And I don't know if you received a call from ORDS, but ever since the last county court meeting, when Rick Paul informed us that the SEAC meeting, they said as of July 1st, they're going to close the rest stop that's to the east of ORDS and the Sage Hand. Have we weighed in and
Again, this will be a good opportunity for,
talk about last minute?
Yep.
is my intent
We're
after
working
being
on
invited to this meeting to voice those concerns as well. I think the state's got a lot of rest areas along I-5 that they're good, but look at the distance between your communities and where people can get off the freeways at those communities versus someplace out here where you're 2 hours between communities, then you take out a rest area.
And that is if you were speeding.
And at ORDS, when this happened a couple years ago, I mean, she was getting 50 extra people a day wanting to use their restroom, which has very poor septic, capacity. And I don't know if Judge Runnels or somebody helped get some porta potties there.
We had to work with. the
I mean,
governor's
it
office
was,
on that
it's really
particular issue.
important. It's
It
gonna
was-
overwhelm
that.
them.
That was during COVID when they just wouldn't come out and open and service. And so the county worked out a deal where ODOT was paying for the porta potties. We were providing the toilet paper, and it was just a pathetic situation.
Maybe call to Rep Owens and Senator Finley as well, or they might be able to help.
So all topics that I will mention on the 29th.
But On the rest area closures, maybe a call this week. Just,
Paul, Rick Paul had reached out to Mark already on,
he did,
yeah,
have you heard anything like
no, they're a little
caught off guard?
busy with
And they're
everything else
busy,
at the
yeah.
moment, now that it's back in elections.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, we shall move on. Old business. Cancellation of personal property tax. Resolution, that's what we determined we had to do, or an order. After the last meeting, we tabled it because we realized we had to do an order for it. And this was in regards to the old manufactured home in Hines, if you remember the discussion.
Remind me, please.
There's a old manufactured home, attached list identifies those property taxes, and it's
Oh, yeah.
38 Hines Mobile Home Park, Hines, Oregon. It's gotten to the point with age and deterioration that it's not even worth the taxes on it, so the
Right.
assessor asked that the taxes be canceled on this property. And at the time, we didn't realize what we needed to do for that, and it came up to be an order.
Okay,
And I'll read the order. And in the matter of request for cancellation of personal property taxes, ORS 311.790 from the Harney County Fixed Asset Rolls. This matter having come before the court on the 21st day of June 2023 to address the cancellation of personal property taxes under ORS 311. There's a typo on that. ORS 311.790. The court being fully advised in the premise now therefore finds that the Harney County Tax Collector and Harney County District Attorney have determined that delinquent taxes on certain personal property are wholly uncollectible and finds that it is in the best interest of Harney County to remove the personal properties from the tax rolls of Harney County. Now therefore, it is ordered that the Harney County Assessor shall remove the properties on the tax list from the Harney County tax rolls. And our signatures. Attached personal property manufactured structure title under the ownership of Bethany Bailey and Sunday Mail in possession of John and Mary Murphy, who own Hines RV and Trailer Park. Structure is unlivable with the interior roof collapsed along with live wires exposed. Cost to repair or rehab outweighs the cost of destruction. Plans are to tear down on site. And a letter from the assessor, Karen Zabala, requesting, and a list of the taxes. The total for the past 2 years, I think it was 2 years, 21. Or no. Just for 2021, it was $117. And a fee of $92, so it's a forgiveness of a little over $200. Anyway, next, entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the order as read.
I second.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the order in the matter of request for cancellation of personal property taxes, ORS 311.790 from the Harney County Fixed Asset Rolls. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to new business, Travis Locke. Is here from Eastern Region Mobilization Coordinator and Emergency Response Unit, Office of the State Fire Marshal. And the discussion is wildfire response.
So, yeah, you're one of the last groups I haven't got a chance to actually get to meet and discuss wildfire response, and especially in the unprotected areas, because obviously this county being so large does have a lot of unprotected structures throughout the area. As you guys know, RFPAs are only for rangeland, cropland. It's not for structural response, not for highway response, anything that way. But we do have a lot of rural communities out here. We're talking French Glen, Diamond, Andrews, Fields, any of those. They may end up getting impingement upon by wildfire. And as such, with not having a municipality or a rural fire protection district covering them for structure, it does fall upon you guys for the responsibility on that. So where that comes in is if we start getting wildfire impingement upon those communities, we got to start looking at trying to bring in resources. Usually this is in coordination with the federal partners, state partners, the local fire defense board, which I believe in the moment is Scott Williams with Burns. And through that, through him, you can actually coordinate to try and get structural protection resources through my office to help protect those type of areas. But what I wanted to mainly bring forward was that if we do go through this, where you need to get a hold of Scott to try to get the structural resources in, I'm also going to need what's called a delegation of authority for my office to be able to come in and do structural protection. Which should end up being one of you guys need to sign it, along with anybody else who has firefighting authority over the area. And I'm kind of needing to know who I need to contact on that for if I do need those delegations of authority and such.
Well, I have a question. Can you maybe just elaborate a little more on what this structure support would be? What it looks like out
So typically if we're going to be bringing in structural support, kind of like what we did up north this last year with Double Creek Fire in Naha.
I don't know that much about it.
So the community was at risk. It was an unprotected community. There was already federal resources in the ground trying to take care of the wildfire on the federal property. And in this case, most of those areas would also have the RFPAs out trying to take care of it on a lot of that property. But if it's impinging upon like a community, a high infrastructure type situation, whether it's communication, something that way, we may need to mobilize my office as far as trying to bring in structure engine structure firefighters that can help do structure protection around the area and actually cover that gap that a lot of the RFPAs and such can't necessarily cover.
Nice.
Not to mention, if it's areas that's not impinging upon the federal, we may be able to try and get some air resources in as well. Typically, if we're going to do this, we're also going to bring in an incident management team to try and take care of the incident from our side, work with in a unified command with the federal agencies at that point.
Mhm.
But for us to have any authority out in these areas, it has to be delegated to us basically at the time of the emergency by the.
So the delegation of authority, is it just that, a simple delegation of authority, or is it through an MOU or?
It's a simple delegation of authority. Within it, it'll be outlined what areas we're covering, what types of actions we will be working with on it. You give us the authority to work with. And once we go to leave, we're actually going to sign the delegation back over to you guys so that you guys have.
Is that incident specific then? It's not a standing one then?
It's incident specific.
Okay.
So it's the only way to keep it truly legal at that point.
Well, the thing to do would be to bring it to county court. It might just require one signature of the county judge, for instance, but
Yeah.
to have us all.
And typically it's just one
Vote on it.
signature, whether it's county judge, whether it's one of the commissioners.
If it's incident specific, then it's gonna be time sensitive as an incident going on.
Mhm.
So then I would, with me being in the office all the
Okay.
time, I would
Oh,
say to
that's
just bring
right.
it to the county,
Yeah.
to myself, the
Yeah.
county judge,
Okay.
and with
Yeah.
your concurrence, I
Yeah.
would sign that delegation.
Sure.
Yeah, and the way to get a hold of us for resources is to go through the fire defense board chief. Like I said, out here it's Scott Williamson. He'll get a hold of me because he has the understanding as far as fire background as to what resources are actually needed. And so he'll coordinate with me on trying to put the request in for those resources to come out. And get those coming. However, be aware, a lot of resources we bring out are coming from the other side of the state. So it will take a little while to get out here. But
That was my next question, where did it come from?
I was gonna ask if you had any on the east side. Stage
right
or-
now, we might be able to get some immediate response, which is up to 72 hours from some areas around. But just like out here, volunteerism is down in a lot of fire departments, and most of the fire departments on the east side of the state are volunteer based. So it may be hard to get those resources coming out. Central Oregon, we do have task forces. However, part of Central Oregon is also in the still in that severe drought stage 2, so they may be tied up on other incidents. But we can have resources coming from all across the state. So just the majority of our task force we draw from are primarily the Willamette Valley area is where a lot of them come from. That's part of why we like to tie in with the local resources as well, because local resources know the area and the fire activity out here, which is much different than what they of course do on the far side of the state. So
Is there any mechanism that, because the resources have to come from so far? Is there any mechanism that our local volunteer municipal department responded to? An area further out that there might be funds available to recoup expenses?
it's a possibility, but it has to be something that's pre-approved by the fire marshal before they can do that.
Before they would go out?
Yeah,
So that's a conversation we could have with the office and trying to work out logistics. That way.
yeah, it's something that possibly could. I know right now, because I was just talking with Chief Williamson a little bit ago. Staffing levels are so far down in town, he doesn't know if he has them, but he can't go out.
Hmm.
So just something to be aware of as well.
If those decisions needed to be made quickly, do they get made quickly at your
Yes,
organization?
we typically have a decision making in half an hour. So,
And does Chief Williamson, does he has all that information contact wise? I mean,
oh yeah,
pick up a phone, make that quick phone call and everything.
yeah, it's,
What is our relationship as far as rural and Burns? Do we have a relationship with Burns?
We
Fire
pay them
department?
$10,000 a
They-
year to help support services.
They've asked for us to provide financial assistance.
But that
And
only
we
goes out
just,
so far though, doesn't it? That fee?
Well, that's just to help compensate
their
logistics
expenses.
and expenses. It doesn't necessarily tie us into any of the county structures in their fire program. Those are individual contracts back to.
Are they part of the 911 committee?
Yes,
That would be where some of the relationship is institutionalized.
but we don't have any, other than the fee, and they requested that fee increase this year to 15,000.
Yeah, well, I'll let you finish.
But, so other than that, we don't have any kind of MOU or anything for response further out or,
I don't know, not that
the
I'm
only
aware of.
MOUs I'm aware of right now for outside of the city. They do have it with the federal and they have it with Silver Creek RFPA and Golden Pine RFPA. But those are the only two RFPAs I'm aware of with MOUs for them right now.
So with the community wildfire protection plan meeting that I was at recently, what is Scott's Williamson? He mentioned that the way they provide support to some of the areas just that are close by, but outside the urban growth boundary of Burns and Hines, the way they tried to do it and tried to have membership and try to have fees to help defray the cost, that it's not working out well anymore. People who think, oh, I can only pay $100 or $200 or whatever it is a year to be an RFPA, they think they're covered. And of course, they're not for their homes, their structures, their barns, their stuff. And he did say it would be helpful, and if our planning department or whoever people go when they, and real estate agents and whoever, when people are buying, selling property, building, getting permits, etc., if there was some kind of document, big letters, big print, make sure everybody knows, even though it's buyer beware, be aware, RFP membership will not cover your structure fires and also the floodplain issues. Those are two things that it seems like people who come into our community and don't seem to know the terrain don't do their homework on, and then they're caught short. So something to talk about with our planning department.
I think yes, a lot of folks come from way outside the community in the last few years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the big stuff I had for you on the wildfire response, trying to keep it fairly abbreviated as possible here so we can keep things moving for you. But do you have any other questions on that?
So for your answer to the delegation, that would run through my office then,
Okay.
the county judge. And we can get you whatever contact information you need so that those phone calls can come to us in a timely manner.
Perfect. And just so you know, unless I'm tied up on another large fire somewhere, you're most likely going to have me coming out here directly myself too. That's part of me living out on the eastern side of the state here, is being able to come directly out to you guys as part of the communities and help get things coordinated the best I can.
So you're the eastern region guy. How big is this eastern region? We have so many different boundaries for the east.
The 6 eastern Oregon counties, so Malawi, Union, Baker, Grant, Harney, and Malheur.
Okay,
So a little over 33,000 square miles.
thank you. Well, we really appreciate you briefing us up on this because
And just so you know, I am quite familiar with the county out here. I actually lived in Burns for 12 years. I was part of EMS out here for that time period. So.
That's what I thought. I was like, man, you're familiar. So as far as the tribe, though, I know the tribal fire department is certified to do structure fires. And when they came to some of the North RFPA meetings, you know, they briefly discussed that with the North RFPA, North Harney RFPA that's being formed. Has there been any conversations with them? I mean, obviously they are a local resource that does have some structure protection ability, but how would that work if we were to have them?
There
provide that
has been
on
a
site?
little bit, but most of that's done through, since they are a sovereign nation, most of that's done through just a little bit different person in my agency. However, it does sound like they are approaching Burns on possibly doing contracting, doing the structure protection out there.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
And then
Thanks,
at the
sir.
legislative level,
yes.
there is a bill that's been put forward to have your agency basically do an analysis of basically what you're bringing to us today. As that moves forward, will this look different than what you're doing right now? How will that information be taken back?
At the moment, it's not looking like it'll be a whole lot different at the moment. But there's a lot of different groups that are studying different situations right now based on recruitment, retention, especially in volunteer systems and all that. And what we can do to try and cover a lot of these areas that are not protected, and trying to get a lot of that information studied, and what kind of come up with at least a few different options that we'll probably try to use. But we're still a few years away from getting those models actually figured out now.
But that is the goal, is to come up with some scenarios where coverage
Come
can
up with some
figured out.
scenarios. I mean, because obviously we don't want to take over anything, but we just want to try to figure out what we can try to do to help get some more protection in the different areas. So that's kind of where they're going with some of that.
Okay. Travis, just a question, since you mentioned that the workforce challenges of, being understaffed, et cetera. I just like to always ask, what are some of the causes of that, in your opinion? Is it the salaries that people just don't want to work? Is it, it's the nature of it's dangerous? Is there not housing in places? What kind of things?
It's a little bit of everything. Because fire suppression does take a lot of training to get your certification credentials for it. So it's partial that, for 70% of the structural firefighters across the nation are volunteer. So trying to keep those certifications up in the state of Oregon, to keep them at 64 hours of training a year, just for your basic certifications. Trying to keep those all up can be real difficult, especially when you're trying to full-time jobs.
Mhm.
There's also issues with having to have dual income households nowadays, so that you don't really have that extra parent to go out and do some of that. There's been a shift in types of jobs that a lot of the younger generations are looking for. So it's in the fire department's trying to look at some changes, traditions, as well. There's a lot of different things that really tie into it.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Just like to learn.
Anything else?
No, we've been trying to make this happen and it happened. So thank you so much.
Sorry I didn't make it last year.
That's all.
Thank you, sir.
He was
Thank you for
busy
your
on
time.
some fires.
Next topic under new business is Harney County Fairgrounds preliminary project design scope and budget overland
Overland Company.
company.
So the Fair Board met on Monday, the 19th, and reviewed this, and so. If you don't mind, we'd let the chair of the Fair Board kind of take the lead on this conversation at this point.
You bet. I'm Craig Neer and I'm representing the Fair Board as Chair. And so we did have our Fair Board meeting, just because of scheduling conflicts, we're later than we normally do. So, sure you guys probably have some questions. We had an email from Commissioner Dora that had some very good questions. I think what I'll maybe do first is kind of update you. So we reached out to Overland, basically with a wish list of everything that we would want in the event center. And so we knew that was going to be more involved in our budget, but we had to have a baseline to see where we would start. So the review that he gave back to us was with far more than what we knew we would have budgeted for, but it gave us then a baseline to see what were our most important needs to scale back to have the facility that met the fairgrounds and Harney County's needs. And so at that meeting, we made some tough decisions and went through and scaled those back. And then yesterday, I talked to Ty and then I emailed him on what those changes would be. And I can kind of go over just in brief kind of what those were away from that. And so basically the first conversation I had with them was just about as we continue down the consulting, I just want to be upfront about what cost that those accrue as far as some consulting. When we look at the actual building, we looked at, and there's some line items on a budget page there. And those numbers are off that budget page to kind of give us a baseline. So we looked at interior finishes, it was $350,000. So basically we were looking at to do away with the offices and the inside structures. The second item was the mechanical and the energy and electric, and so there was about $825,000 that would be reduced to at this time not install the HVAC systems. The foundation, we had a slab and a concourse with a bleacher area that worked out to be within that budget that submitted to us was $465,200. So we opted to have that removed. There was an existing pool building that was relocated. We decided as a board that maybe that would be best to look at trying to sell that and provide income back instead of a demolition or a rebuild. That number was too high. And then we had two options with removal of the west overhang, which was $550,000, and then also removal of the northern overhang. In my conversation, those are kind of some more numbers that we had in that budget. The other things we wanted to look at was that our original plan was to have 4 bathrooms. And so we asked him to scale that back and give us a price break to have 1 and 2 finished bathrooms. And another thing that we spoke to him about was unrelated to trying to reduce the cost in our budget, but there was a storm drain and catch facility that was based on the east side, and that didn't really meet up with our vision. And so that was kind of just some basics there that we were looking. You can add all that up. I did it for you. It's $1,825,000.
Appreciate all that work, yeah, because, I just looked at it as just, I mean, it was a good body of work.
Yeah.
That they did based on the ask.
Yeah.
And this is a lot
Yeah.
more, appreciate that.
Also with him, the overall fee is 5 to 8%, just for the management of the project. If you took off 1.825 million, that's going to reduce that number at 5% by about 100,000 almost. So there's a lot of numbers that will move within this. The main thing that we wanted to stress with Ty and what we talked about as a board is that we know we don't have the budget for those things now, but we want to make sure that the infrastructure is laid within a way in which those are all things that which when funding can become available, that they can be added on. So whether it be infrastructure for 4 bathrooms, although only maybe 1 or 2 would be finished. Construction design of the building would be available for the overhang, but not put on at this time. So the entire vision of this was to be able to have the infrastructure to be able to make this a continual project and continue to meet the needs of the fairgrounds in Harney County and provide more to the community. But that would have to probably be done in stages as funding was available.
When I looked over this, the only thing that the diagram's a little small, so it's kind of hard to tell the exact square footage.
Get your squinters on.
Well, but even with the way they did this, like margins on the side and top and everything. The delineated arena area, the square delineated. Is that, how's that gonna be delineated? What are you guys looking at doing for that? Is it gonna be removable panels and posts so that the area can be opened up for other things, or is it gonna be fixed?
So this is still up for, there's nothing set in stone. But the idea to best meet the needs of what the funding for the facility was originally put forth was that riding arena inside the structure of the building would be a permanent. But it would be designed in a way in which other things could take place. So you can take any riding arena and you can water and pack the ground and have a home show within it. And so although a lot of the structures within it would be permanent, that meaning maybe the fence around the arena, the concourse area, of course, in our downplayed item wouldn't have offices. But there's still places that during events you could bring in food court trailers. And so whether that be an agricultural tractor show or something like that, it would still serve purposes other than just riding or rodeo. But we would want to make sure that that's probably what its primary focus would be as far as the stationary elements of the design.
And that was kind of one of my other questions too, because in this drawing, it doesn't really. I mean, it shows like small man doors and in relationship, whether there's big roll-up doors or whatever next to them. It's kind of hard to tell in this diagram, but just to make sure that there was access for those kind of things, that you could bring a vehicle in and out, or you could.
100%. So this is a conceptual design. So really, we don't have a whole lot of definitive things. There were some big picture items as far as size and different things. We wanted to make sure we covered infrastructure of where water lines and sewer lines went. So that meant, even future, projects down the road of different bathrooms and showers. We want to make sure all those things were addressed. Things like doors, location of water hydrants, and those are all things that can be changed and moved. What we're really waiting for now is for Patty to get back to us with the scaled down budget and see how close we are. I spoke with him about, the amount of funding that we had and use his expertise in construction and designing these kind of buildings to make sure to make the right changes that meet our needs, but get us closer to our budget. Once we're closer to that footprint, then we can really look at some hard specifics of types of doors, where they're located, but our vision of this is greater than just an indoor riding arena, although that is one of the primary purposes of it.
And even to speak to your the arena layout, most arenas instead of having panels, they just have gates strategically placed throughout those panels to allow access and flow into the arena, but without having to tear the whole arena down. So, there's lots of ways to still make it function for a lot of different things.
My concern there and the reason for asking those questions was that I believe one of the funding sources was multicultural events, multicultural.
Yeah, like the
facility.
powwow,
Yeah.
as you can see in the original proposal that I put forward to the legislature, it's, any sort of vendor events, the powwow that takes place, we're really hoping to with the schools getting into manufacturing, being able to have a bit of a trade show for them. And this will provide a non-weather dependent avenue for a lot of this to take place, even at fair, weather wreaks havoc on our events. And so it'll be very fortunate for us to have, no matter what the weather, we can plan an event and know that it will be able to go forward, whether it's a vendor show or whatever, without having the weather come through and cause a
many times-
situation.
Many times, I know, well, ago, say, for example, like Lakeview, they had a junior high rodeo that was scheduled for their outdoor arena because they had no other facility, and a big rainstorm that came through, that was canceled. And so then their community lost out on those 200 families that would be spending 3 to 4 days there. So this also gives us a backup, as a midsummer outdoor event, say, for instance, the Ranch Rodeo. A thunderstorm comes through and floods the arena. Instead of canceling that event, we work hard and we can move it to our end of the facility. And in the same sense, like I said, a tractor show or anything. So you take facilities like Redmond or Prineville, all areas within here, Prineville, they'll go through and they'll water and pack their arena dirt. It's just like this floor. And then they have, car shows. They have, all different kinds of agricultural type of shows. So it's not by any means limited to only a equine facility, although that is the general design of it. There's lots of possibilities for other things there, and that's part of our scope,
So also looking at the conceptual diagrams here and whatnot, the footprint that it's gonna take, encompassing all the livestock corrals, especially for this. Well, I believe the last timeline I heard was that this will start basically right after our coming fair. The construction, deconstruction and construction.
That's the hopes of our time to be able to make.
So then next year, and depending on funds and what's available to get built out and what's not able to get built out. This will be able to facilitate the livestock showing and everything until those permanent structures and everything get rebuilt.
100%, and we've had lots of conversations with the sale committee, 4-H, FFA. We know that it will be a form of transition, but this building would be available for fair in order for that facility to be used for what we're removing. An important thing, I know there's a lot of, in the community, there's a lot of people that, hold to their hearts in those old buildings and old structures, but they're very dilapidated and they're gonna reach a point which our friends from the State Fire Marshal are gonna come over and tell us we can't use them anymore. So although there is a lot of, heartfelt in the community about seeing things change, and, I think I've been at the court before and addressed that sometimes change is hard for Harney County, and I'll say that publicly. So there's gonna be, some people that don't always understand our vision. When I speak of that, and you had mentioned, Commissioner Dora, in your email that a town hall
That's
or something would be
yeah, the right
appropriate,
term.
and the Fair Board agrees that we would like to have maybe a town hall or a comment period. But first, what we'd like to do, and we ask that, before any information from the court is released, I think that document from Overland maybe was released. We ask that be done in conjunction with us before anything's released. It's gonna make our jobs easier, and we really want to get, our boots in the dirt, and we want to make sure that we have our plan so that when we do go public about it, we'll have the right pieces in places and answers in place. I know, like I said, can be a hot topic for our community. And so we just want to make sure that it's rolled out appropriately and that people do have a chance to comment and give their input. But we also want to make sure that we have answers for them, because nothing's worse than the people come forth with answers and then we not have them yet. So we just want to make sure that rollout is done in a way in which we all work in conjunction with it, but it gives the community the best result.
Part of that process for public comment, though, allows people to ask questions that maybe you haven't thought of. You know what I mean? So that helps you in your planning process.
Yes, and that is good. And that's why I think the timing, that's when I say timing, you're right, Judge Hart, that there's a point in which we haven't solidified everything. And we have room to make those adjustments, and people bring up ideas that we may not have met. whether it be parking or, whatever those concerns may be, and that we're very open to those ideas. We just want to make sure that the timing of those questions is at the appropriate time. Being a volunteer board, we all have jobs and homes and families, and so we also want to use the most of our time. And so if we're constantly just answering questions and we're not really directing our attention in the whole idea of getting the building put on the ground.
I have a couple just clarifications.
You bet.
So, again, I think it's evolving pretty well. So the first year that you at least have the structure up, so the auction will be inside there, the livestock auction, or where, once you remove all those other buildings and you put the basic structure up, where is that planned to happen?
That very well could happen in that exact same place. I don't have the exact answer.
Okay,
but-
that's
but-
fine.
but
I'm just
that-
asking,
that-
when I was
that-
out there visiting with
Mhm.
Lindsay, I said, so where are the stalls gonna be for the animals? And basically it would be west of the beer garden,
Yes,
okay? And that's when I said, is that enough space? And is there a problem with the horses and the, disruption or not? She said, no problem. But, I know that, the thing I hear from people about is they definitely want the stalls for the animals. They don't want that gapped.
Yeah.
With a bunch of workarounds. So I just passed that on in my email to you on that one. Hopefully you all and the contractor, looked at the area very thoroughly.
yeah,
But that's when I said, maybe don't have the roof all the way in case the building gets delayed, in case you need to just have some other kind of overhang roof over this. I don't know what the plan is for that. That might not be,
yeah.
penciled out yet. I get that.
All the small details are not penciled yet, but we are in all of our conversations, making sure that we accommodate. Those facilities, those families, those people, those animals, like, they're all part of our conversation. We don't have all those details.
Cause I know you
100%
can,
worked out,
you
but-
can, still have your livestock show without the building being up.
Yeah.
But the stalls, if they're in
Yeah.
place, that can
The
go,
housing
okay,
side
so,
of things.
and then, do you see the structure being available for the talent show if it's raining, at some point, hopefully if they have a talent show and it's inclement weather, it's Thursday night, doesn't, usually there's not other stuff scheduled,
yeah.
multiple use,
I think
even
that-
within fair
I
itself.
think that's the whole idea with the building. It is to have that multiple use, and I think that's one of the ideas of the building.
And then at the exhibits, with the removal of those old buildings,
And we're already planning for like fair this year, like to move all of the open class into the memorial building. With the old 4-H building the way it is, it's not really a structure that needs to be visited by people during fair. And so, we're already looking at starting some of those transitions this year and put things in place so that we can better understand how it flows back.
and there has been, and some of it might have been COVID, but some of it just, there's been a decline in the number of exhibits from just the community itself, and we do have an aging population. I don't know if that's some of it, but it's sad, but I have noticed that there have been fewer.
Yeah, and we even actually, Mrs. Staley. Stokely, sorry, she spoke to the county fair last night. And her other job away from 4-H is with the
Community family.
community family health. And so there's a program right now that's getting rolling, that kind of works in conjunction with static class. And so she spoke to us about that and the Hardin County High Desert Partnership wanting to be involved, and it has to do with things like food sustainability, canning, cooking. And so it kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of what you speak of. We were all open arms with that idea at the board meeting on Monday, but maybe that helping improve is that's what we talked about.
And I think it'll be neat to see some of those ideas that they presented come to fruition. They're talking about having some demonstrations going on during fair to kind of attract more people to come down and participate in some of those. And so I think it'll blend really well.
One that
with-
she had
with
said,
the-
just as a, they threw ideas that it was like sheep to sweater. I mean, they shear a sheep And then, you know, that wool, it's a competition, and that wool goes all the way through the process of the demonstration, you know, and that's something that's kind of neat if you're a farrier, you're gonna go check in and say, well, they got the sheets here, where's the wool at, you know, today, so, you know, that was kind of neat. I think one other thing I want to, you know, say too, just as the, you know, the fair plans and talks, and I'm a newer board member, and you know, some of the chances said is that, you know, this process really started, I think, and you probably have a few things to say too, this process started really like 6 years ago. And then there was a plan that was picked to try to move forward and really, you know, improve the fairgrounds. And so, you know, we're kind of following on those plans, and although, you know, there's some hurdles that we're gonna overcome with, you know, where does the livestock go, you know, our vision is the fair board, and you know, it's something that was started long ago. We also know that, you know, if we can have a building and we can rent it and have car shows and bring people and things to our community, that's gonna open more doors for more funding. And that's gonna open more doors for the fair and the community and the county. And maybe that means that we then have more funding to build a whole new steer barn. You know, and that's kind of our idea here, is that although we'll go through some transitions, that the light at the end of the tunnel is as big as we want to see it.
And it's some, further down the road, I know that we'll all be coordinating with the emergency management functions, the fire crews that camp out there, you know, the contracts we have with to support those responses and how this will look for them
And
as
those
well.
are all conversations that we have had at our board meetings when we talk about this, is that, you know, how does this play into those things, fire camps, emergency management? You know, I'm always asking if, you know, if there's a natural disaster and people need to bring their animals, you know, to our facility, and the funding that can generate and be available.
I think I'm hoping that there are some avenues for the types of grants that come under the emergency management or fire response umbrella that may cross over to where we could perhaps access some of that, because I think we ought to have gotten more from the legislature for our fairgrounds, but you know, we have a start, as you all know, we have a
It's
good
funny.
start, but
It's funny, I've traveled lots of different places. I know one thing about a fairground, especially if you're traveling with horses and rodeo, and like, you know, which fairgrounds are the good ones. And you know the ones to go to and stay at, you know, and you know, we're in a unique spot here. And so, you know, we want to make sure our fairgrounds are that same way, that it's a good spot to be, it's a good spot to stop at. And, you know, it's all part of image and opening up our county.
And I know, even the little bit that I'm at the fairgrounds, I'm shocked at how many national finals rodeo contestants actually stop at our fairgrounds and stall their horses there and use it. You know, and so we are a destination along
We are.
the route where people do
Yeah.
utilize our fairgrounds.
A lot of people, especially, you know, I get a lot of phone calls, but, you know, a lot of people will be going to Arizona. And this is a main shot through for a lot of snowbirds, old and young. And, Harney County is a spot that, you know, meets their stopping point. So, yeah, it's a big spot.
And then just to speak to the legislative piece, Representative Owens is working right now on securing some additional funding to help get this project over the finish line. And so I'll keep you posted as that moves forward. He did say that is in the works for, you know, around 1.3. We'll see where it lands. But he is aware that, you know, it's going to take a little more, and the kids club as well is going to get some additional funding to help get their project that was secured at the same time across the finish line. Just there's a lot more
I know.
inflation that's gone on that we all wish would go away, but it's here to stay. So there is some
I know.
recognition of that.
There was so much good hard work by people advocating for better funding for various reasons for fairgrounds across the state, and it you know, unfortunately didn't quite make it this year.
And the stuff that did make it unfortunately does not really suit us for receiving.
It was just disappointing, but you know, the work continues because the state has plenty of money. They're just
From, you
doing
know,
their thing.
also from a construction standpoint, just in my conversations with Ty, you know, I know we would be looking at some real hard deadlines, you know, as far as starting and having certain things completed, and so that's a concern that we have also of the board, is making sure that we can meet these deadlines. But he said that, within the steel building, fabrication, a lot of it to our advantage, but because of high interest rates and coming out of COVID and all these things that, a down payment on a building, you're 6 to 8 weeks from getting it. So he said that
It was
that
6 months
it
during.
was 6 months, so that really helps, and as we make determining factors and try to follow a timeline. That's good news, just knowing that when you have these hard dates that you want to meet. When decisions are made, 6 to 8 weeks is a lot better number than, well, maybe 4 to 8 months. So, there's some good news. And a lot of that's brought in by, high interest rates and, people not building, and then they ramped up because of the supply chain problems. So, they have steel and they're ready to build. They won't build anything until you make a down payment, but they'll certainly get on it.
Appreciate the Fair Board coming. Thank you.
I don't know if anyone else on the board, but before they had anything they wanted to share. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Feel free. I know you're busy folks. If you need to scoot away, that's.
I do need to step away, so I
Okay.
appreciate everyone's time and continue to work for it.
Thank you for the update.
I like your radio commercials.
He promises to sing for Fair Board.
Makes me remember my childhood in
childhood.
North Carolina.
We got a new round coming out. Tune in.
Thank you.
Don't have too much fun.
All right, next item on the agenda is resolution 2023-14, the matter of intrafund transfer of appropriations within categories for the road fund 202. This is transfer, from materials and supplies of $2,046,700. That must be the balance, a decrease of $90,000 from materials and supplies and an increase in personal services of $90,000.
Any background on that?
I thought it was to meet the personnel services needs that were made aware of,
Yeah, it looks like that's what
to balance the budget. For their fund.
I was just trying to. And is that just that it got more attention and scrutiny here at the end of the budget process than
No,
in
I think this was
January, or-
planned to occur towards the end of the year, from what I understood. Is that?
Well, I don't know for sure. In the last 6 months, I haven't seen a whole lot of changes in personal services in the road department. So I don't know why they would have a $90,000 deficit that needs to be brought over.
I do have an email from Bobby Joe when she sent this, and it says, "Court, we are moving appropriation for materials and supply to personnel for the road fund. Due to extra snow plowing and some employee increases, the personal category will go over after June payroll. We should correct that."
So that should sum it up then.
that is helpful. It was probably right in front of me. You didn't.
I did. Well, I move to approve resolution 2023-14 in the matter of interfund transfer of appropriations within categories for road fund 202 for the amount of personnel services increase of 90,000 and materials and supplies decrease of 90,000.
A second.
A motion has been made to approve resolution 2023-14 in the matter of intrafund transfer of appropriations within categories for the road fund 202. Those increase and decreases being increase of $90,000 in personal services and a decrease of $90,000 to materials and supplies. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
So Matt, are you just in town today or?
No, I came last week and I was a week early, so I thought I'd show up here today. I don't know what I'm doing. How about that?
It was nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
Maybe, we might get to general deliberation in the next little bit. We could, visit a little bit about your project at that point.
That would be wonderful.
But
It
that
did
would-
make me feel good that the fairground's been working on there 6 years, so. I agree, you feel so far out of place.
Everything's,
Oh, my God.
destination, we'll call it.
All right, next item on the agenda under new business is longevity awards. Cheryl Hancock, 15 years. And Roxanne Worley, Lieutenant Worley from the Corrections Department, 5 years. I'd like to recognize each for their service to Harney County and say thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
They're
And
good.
I shall hand deliver these as I normally do. Give me a reason to get out of the office, but I also like to give them to them personally.
Yeah. That's nice.
Next item on the agenda is public water notices, Harney County.
There it goes.
And next topic is correspondence. Had public hearing notice, Planning Commission, City of Burns. You're hereby notified that a public hearing will be held before the Planning Commission in Burns, City Hall in Burns, Harney County, Oregon, on the 11th day of July, 2023 at 6:15 p.m.
Do you know
Yes.
which building it is it refers to? One,
What's
I thought
that?
it was the old Burnstown Apartments.
is
but
that
I-
what it is?
Is that
It has the
what-
tax map.
Crystal
number, but
King
I thought that that's the building they bought.
To construct
I
two
could be wrong.
residential dwelling.
I'm just curious,
And
since
the
there's a
upper
couple
floor
different
of the existing two-story commercial building at 348 North Broadway, the city property. I think, no, that would be further down. You figure the 100 block is the Elks or the theater. I think the theater is the below 100, so the Elks and Ford Garage would be the 100 block. The next block where the old post office is the
Hold up,
200
Google.
blocks, 200 block. And then the 300 block would be
That could be
Bella Java and I think, aren't they the ones that just redid that corner building, the corner office building that is now an office space?
No,
for-
that's Pimples.
That's okay.
Hmm. Well. I guess if I want to know more, I can go to their public hearing, huh?
When I typed it in, it pulls up, I mean, Jan's old kitchen store.
Oh,
Oh, the old Gourmet Gadgets?
okay.
Okay, thanks, I was just curious.
Okay, I thought that belonged to somebody else. I thought that belonged to.
I hadn't heard who'd bought that. Maybe that's who.
Man, if it's changed hands, then I thought it belonged to.
Guess our rumor mill's not real tight, huh?
We're not in the know.
I like it that way.
My way,
Grams.
Grams. I thought it belonged to Grams.
I think the store is in Grams now.
I know they have that one, but I thought both of them, but maybe not. Okay, so there's that, just sharing the word there, let people know. And then next. Correspondence from U.S. Department of Agriculture. Forest. Sale. This sale is located in Gibbs Township and Range. All these are in the town cloud packet if anybody's interested. But it's Forest Mount here, Blue Mountain Ranger District, both of them. Again, just sharing the word for anybody who might be interested in forest product sale. I don't have anything else correspondence. Commissioner Showman, anything? Correspondence?
I don't have any correspondence. I am still working on, getting. It nailed down with the governor's office for July, so I will keep posted with that, but we have not had any further correspondence with them. Okay. Well, at least for their schedule. So. Posted.
Commissioner Doral?
Or we're just for correspondence?
correspondence, yeah,
No,
you have
I have
anything?
nothing.
Okay, and that would take us to scheduling. Next county court dates will be July 5th and July 19th. And as mentioned earlier, we will have a budget hearing on June 28th at 10:30. 10:30, right?
Is that what it got posted for?
I don't have it written down yet, so.
I think it was 10:30.
I didn't look in the paper to see the notice, so.
Never do.
Once the letters to the editor weren't so juicy anymore, I mostly scanned the paper quickly, must admit. 10:30. 10:30 on the 28th.
Yes. And I will, while not required to attend, but I will send out an invite to the budget committee.
Okay.
So that should do it for scheduling. Unless anybody has anything else to add, anything coming up?
Yeah, just things of just general interest. There's tomorrow night, Thursday, the 22nd at 5:30. There's a Get Your Business Online training from the Economic Development Office. I don't know how many people come, but that's an offering. Y'all probably know Senator Wyden's Town Hall is this Saturday at 10 in the Armory. The Archaeology Roadshow in Hines this Saturday. Commissioner Shulman's got a bunch of stuff going on. Saturday. It's gonna be a busy Saturday. Next week, June 27th, Tuesday, is that Eastern Oregon Workforce Board employer lunch and learn. Free lunch and learn at the Central Hotel. And it seems like on the 30th, there's some kind of a county ice cream social.
Oh, yes. Yes, I sent out an invite earlier this month, just something to do on Friday afternoon. We're going through some growing pains, obviously, with the office locations and whatnot. And I solicited everybody's input and suggestions and ideas, and I thought, well, you know what, let's just have a Saturday or a Friday afternoon, all employee come by and have some ice cream. So we'll take care of that. And
I'll be out of town. I'll probably be leaving after the meeting on the 28th. Get to Idaho.
And then I don't know what time of the year normally that y'all have usually done the barbecue,
It's August, I believe.
Oh,
Typically August.
but we'll still look at doing that this year, but summertime, thought we'd
Right.
try and bring everybody together a little bit.
sounds good.
So as far as scheduling goes, nothing else, then we'll move on to general deliberation.
So Matt, maybe we can drag you into this.
You want me to drag you into this?
Why don't you give us a little update? You.
My name is Matt Hawley. My name is Matt Hawley. I'm the superintendent of training schools. My job is to educate kids and take care of my staff. But I have a public water works entity that kind of came into my lap. A $3.2 million project for a water and sewer system in the Crane area. We are an unincorporated community. We are probably 2 years into this as well, and Business Oregon has given notice that if we don't start getting some of this stuff done on their timeline, that we're going to lose the $3.2 million. This stuff is so completely out of my wheelhouse. I'm going to be talking about nuclear science. I don't know, but what I would like to get accomplished right now. We do have the RFP out. The RFP those will need to be submitted by next, the 28th, so next Wednesday, I think. And at that point in time, within 3 days, we'll read through those and score the RFPs, and then we will make contact with the entity in which we will be awarding the RFP. The engineering has already been all completed. That was done by Brad Baird out of LeGrand. Anderson Perry is the organization. I'm not sure how many RFPs we'll get. I think they'll be submitting one. And at that point in time, there's so many intricacies in this process. Like I said, that I don't know. So what I would like to get done is get a board established. Because 7 people are going to make decisions instead of 1. And that 1 being a school administrator that doesn't know anything. So I really would like to have some people to get this board together. And I know Dominic and Jeremy have had some communication back and forth. I don't know what the lawyer speak means. I can read it. It's like, well, okay, whatever. But, you know, just things like having someone certified to run the system and having the right training, not being able to find those people. There's a lot of things that need to be worked out as this process evolves. But if it doesn't evolve now, then it's not going to happen. And we have community members in our community that's wells are 90 feet deep and they have no water come on this. And we would really like to provide a service to our constituents in the Crane area. Make life better. And I just need some support in doing that. And like I said, my goal is to get, I think we called it a special district now, to get a board in place to make the decisions for this project and get some people with some experience in this area, and that homes could be affected and property could be affected by this. And so that's what I'm looking to get accomplished, is to get a board in place to make these decisions on this project. The Crane Schools right now, we are the fiscal agent. So the funds are running through us. But other than that, there's not a lot of foundation for someone entering this whole process, going through and getting in place. Like, we just don't have that knowledge base out there. So I need a board to take this off my hands so they can make decision on what's best for our community. And I just need to know what that process is. And I would like to see that process in 1, 2, 3. These are the things that need to get accomplished, and have it be in English and not lawyer speak. So I can understand what I need to do to get this board in place, working with the county through that process. And I've read a lot about, you know, we're going to have elections, we're going to have public input. It's just like, oh my gosh, this will never get, I feel like the fair people. It's like, you're never going to get everyone to agree. So